Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so thank you very much, Teresa, for inviting me to speak tonight, and also for curating or co-curating the excellent exhibition below, which I hope that lots of you have seen, about mapping and contemporary mapping by artists. I think because we're kind of not short of time, but we've got quite a lot to cover this evening, what I might do is just give a quick introduction to a film that you're about to see, and then after that I'll just I want to read some extracts. I want to talk a bit about the wider project under construction, this, that I did with Monica de Miranda, from which the work that you're going to see is part of that exhibition. I want to look at some of the works in that exhibition, also talk a little bit about the process and what we're trying to do. And then I'll hand over to Alex to talk about his project. So really briefly, the film that you're about to see is called Military Road. It's by artist, Monica de Miranda is a Portuguese artist who is based between Lisbon and London, and she's been really interested in working around migration flows and the impact on the city. And we came together really because of my own interest in what I call black urbanism, which is the way in which black communities engage with the city, and in a very creative way. Often black communities are seen, or black neighbourhoods if you like, or migrant neighbourhoods, are seen in very negative terms as being about ghettos or ghettoisation. And there's a whole, as Alex will testify, there's a whole literature in urban studies, urban theory, geography, sociology, devoted to the phenomenology of the ghetto, right? And the ghetto is seen as this kind of one-way space of pathology, of negativity. And I really wanted to see how actually some of these marginal spaces are sites of creativity and how they relate to urban structures and urban spaces. So that's kind of my interest, and we kind of came together to do a project around Lisbon and ask certain questions around Lisbon, because many of the surrounding the centre of Lisbon is a beautiful city, post-colonial city, elegant city. Has anyone been to Lisbon, by the way? So I'm sure you know what I'm saying. It's a picture postcard city, kind of hidden from the kind of main geography of Europe. People don't really tend to think about Lisbon, but it's a really incredible, historic, imperial city. But surrounding the city is a whole landscape that no one really knows about. Even lots of Lisbonites don't realise what's happening there. And there are huge shanty towns, several shanty towns, over 50 shanty towns actually, in various parts of Lisbon, due to historical reasons, which I won't go into now. But and in many of these shanty towns, which were initially inhabited by Portuguese, poor Portuguese, now mostly are inhabited by mostly African migrants from Cape Verde, Sao Tome and Principe, and Angola, Guinea-Bissau, and from Bangladesh and other areas as well. So the video you're going to see now is a film that Monica made, which is looking at the military road. And the military, historical 19th century, built a road that surrounded the city and carved out a kind of landscape, if you like, about 45 kilometres, and part of that road still exists. And she kind of like, with friends and with family and with some of the people in the communities, she wanted to kind of like find out more about this road, so she went on a road trip and had a camera and filmed the aspect, and she filmed this road. So what you'll see is that you'll see her driving, or you'll see an image from the camera, from the car, and then she kind of juxtaposed that with some text from Portuguese historic textbooks, which talk about the military defence of the city. And she kind of like, her interest in that was the way in which that road is a kind of metaphorical space, because in a way, at that point in the 19th century, it was a kind of a defensive road against French and British invaders to Portugal. And today, it kind of demarcates the line between these kind of immigrant spaces that are forgotten, in a way, the new invaders, if you like, and the city. So that's the kind of background to the video. So maybe we can show the video now, and I'd like to kind of go in a bit more about the project. Oh, we're going to get full now. Yeah, okay. As it's loading, I'll just say a bit about the project. What we were trying to do under construction. We called it under construction because we were interested really looking at the relationship between the shanty towns and the city. And no one had really mapped that relationship. It was completely unmapped. Many of these shanty towns, which I'll show you in a minute, are literally off the map. They don't exist on any map. And so they're invisible to the city. So we wanted to really, we saw the exhibition project curatorially as a kind of staging a space of encounter between the shanty towns and the city. And we wanted to, so we kind of designed the project with that in mind. We had an exhibition of works in an old factory, which I'll show you in a minute. But we also, coinciding with the actual works that Monica created, we had some other artists that we invited, were a number of events that were taking place concurrently in various shanty towns, right? And these shanty towns are completely cut off from public transport, so we organised buses to take people there. And in these different spaces, we had debates and around the shanty towns. We showed films that looked at the history of the self-build movement in Portugal and shanty towns. And we wanted to really connect a living kind of, wanted to confront Lisbonites, people that live in Lisbon, who don't know these areas, don't really go to these areas, they're very hard to find. We wanted to really confront them with the reality of their own city. And the reaction was quite interesting. This is the first contemporary art project that actually dealt with this relationship. I found it quite amazing, considering that Lisbon is a real post-colonial city. And the reaction was quite strong. People actually were really surprised to see these landscapes because they'd never really seen them. So that was the kind of motivation behind the thing. I think we can go to read it. Okay. There's always technical glitches at everything I do. Okay, so I'll take this opportunity to just go a bit more. So, what were the kind of questions that we were asking? Well, we wanted to really investigate, if you like, so we wanted to firstly try to make visible what's often invisible. These spaces are, as I said, literally off the map. So we literally wanted to actually put them on the map. We worked with some architects who did some mapping techniques, which actually is available in this book, which you can have a look at if you want to do. So we actually looked at three major shanty towns. One was called Quinta de Victoria, another one was called Miraria, which is actually part of Lisbon City. Another was a huge shanty town I'll talk a bit about, called Cova de Moura, which is a massive space. It's like an urban neighbourhood in its own right. And it's very, very well developed. It has shops, it has streets, all self-built, with no intervention by architects whatsoever. The local communities, mostly from places like Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, built them themselves. This interested me as someone who's interested in this idea of black urbanism, because what I saw were African immigrants who literally had built a city on the outskirts of Lisbon, and which receives no help whatsoever, no money, no resources, actually completely ignored officially by the state, by the local government, right? It's actually become now such a well-known place that you've got architects and students all over Europe who are looking at it as a form of sort of self-build spaces. Okay, yeah. So let's have a look at this a clip for about 10 minutes.
Espaço em Lisboa não há consenso sobre a melhor forma de resolver o problema, e cada legislação que vem, em vez de facilitar, complica. Olha, este bairro aqui também é um bairro que está nessa rota e fazia parte de um destes cereiros, este bairro aqui à esquerda. Se vocês puderem ver.